With Smash Ultimate Summit coming up, I just wanted to go over all the different players who are going to be attending to give you guys a little bit of context and background for when you watch the event, but also to just throw my picks into the ring to, so you guys can hear about who I think's going to take it all. And so let's just go right down the list here, starting with Armada. Now, Armada has been known as the incredibly consistent and talented Melee player, but after taking an extended hiatus from Melee, he's been focusing on Smash Ultimate, and I'm not sure exactly how well that's paid off. I know he's been okay, he's done well in friendlies versus top players, but I've never really seen him do well at large events for Smash Ultimate, and so I really wouldn't put too much hope in him to do well at this event. Still, he's got some promise, and I think he has all the intangibles going for him. The fact that he's competed at many Melee summits, and he's just such an experienced player. Next up, we have Leffen, who has a lot of similar intangibles to Armada, but I think he also has the fact that he's so good at so many games, this including Smash Ultimate. True, he may not have that coveted Smash 4 experience, but I still think that he's going to be able to do very well in this tournament. Possibly even pull out an upset, or at least take a lot of top players in close sets. Although I think they will eventually take the win, and I wouldn't also expect him to do extremely well in this tournament. Plup is in a similar place to Armada, just with the fact that I wouldn't really think that he's going to do very strong at this tournament. He's looked consistent, he's looked fine against a lot of mid-level players. He's looked even pretty impressive, especially with the characters he's playing. He hasn't just taken, I'd say the Mewtwo King approach, who I'm going to talk about next, which is just to take, the simple broken character and main them. But he's really found his footing with a lot of more fun characters. I saw him playing Mega Man before, and I saw him in Bracket. I didn't even realize it was him, this Melee player, because he just seemed like a normal player. And so I think he's going to do fine, but I also wouldn't put much stock in him. Now, Mewtwo King is where it gets a little bit dicey. I think that he's a great player, and he has a lot of potential, but he's going to have to really make a breakout performance here if he wants anything. If not, he's going to be in the same place as Armada and Plup, just sort of falling behind the pack. Mango, he's going to have a beer and have a fun time. He's another Melee player. He's a pretty fun dude, but I really wouldn't expect a ton out of him. He might be able to pull an upset or meme on a top Ultimate player, and that might be fun. And yeah, I expect to see some good content pieces featuring Mango, though. Now we get to the real boys, as we've got MKLeo. Everyone knows him as the person who was considered the best Smash 4 player after Zero had retired. And he's carried that over into Ultimate with his amazing performances and great placings, doing stuff like just taking Genesis all together. And so I really would put him as the favorite to win this whole event, and I believe he is seeded first. But there are still so many strong contenders that could upset him, and a lot of his demons he's most likely going to have to face in this bracket if he wants to make it through. People like Dabuz, who have often either taken sets off of him or gotten it close, and so I think that it's going to be rough for Leo, but he has all the tools that he needs in order to take this win, and if you're going to bet on anyone, I'd bet on Leo. Of course, as I talked about before, Dabuz, recently picked up by Liquid, is a super strong player, and I wouldn't expect him to do poorly at all. In fact, I would say he's most likely going to get top 4, but despite that, a lot of the intangibles seem to be against him. The fact that he just doesn't win big major events a lot of the time, and he often just gets these top consistent placings, which, well, good. It's not really the type of thing that you would expect to see out of someone. He's just like him. He's just so good, but he never seems to win. Still, though, Summit could be his breakout tournament. He could pull a Mewtwo King, and after getting a bunch of consistent placings, just win a summit all of a sudden, just like Mewtwo King did at the Melee Summit. Now, Nairo's in an interesting place. He has so many of the intangibles, like all these other top players I've mentioned before, but his actual play, I'm just not sure about. he's super good. He's super talented. At the same time, I don't think he's been performing on that dominating level that we would think to see out of his, let's say, ZSS in Smash 4. Of course, it's such a new game, always uncertainties with every single player. And so, similarly to Dabuz, I'd expect him to do well, but I think he's either going to have a crazy performance, or he could get upset by a player like Leffen, who I said before has a lot of potential. Cosmos is another person that could upset Nairo. In fact, he's already done it before. And so, you could always see him do that again. He's a great player. But I think his fault lies in the fact that a lot of his peaks and a lot of his lows are sort of in a tight-knit area, and so I don't think he's going to go insane and win Summit, but I wouldn't put him as the kind of person to choke out of Summit. So I think he's going to be just another consistent contender. Now, Void is someone who has some very high peaks, but he can also hit some lows every once in a while. And so I would put him as a contender for Summit. This is the kind of event that he could take. I remember him taking Smash and Splash in Smash 4, so he's proven that he can do it. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that he's the most consistent. I wouldn't guarantee that he's going to get top 4, like I would say that Dabuz would pretty much guarantee top 4. MKLeo, guarantee top 4. But he's just a very good player, very good Pichu main, and I expect to see some cool plays out of him. Now, Samsora is really an interesting dark horse to win this entire event. He's a super talented player, but I haven't seen him taking first place at any of these events. But I've seen him go crazy close with MKLeo, and he's got to be training hard for this, and I think that he's going to really learn a lot at Summit. And as things progress, I think we're going to see some very good players coming out of Summit. And I think Samsora could be one of those. I think he might be one of the people who really takes the most from this event. And if he places highly, I think he can carry that momentum into the future. But we'll just have to see what happens, because although he's good, he's not the Titan that is MKLeo or the Titan that is Dabuz. Zero is... well, he reminds me of Armada, the whole retired Smash player thing, but also with the fact that he's a good player, he's a consistent player, he has a lot of the intangibles going for him, because he really, he's been a number 1 player in the world at Smash 4 for many, many years. And at the same time, a lot of the tangibles all just go against him. We've got the fact that he hasn't had the best placings, losing to players like Mudace, he's an insanely good player, but at the same time, someone the caliber of Zero, it's rare to see him upset. And he hasn't gone to that many events, so I'm expecting him to do pretty good. But I think if we're going to see an upset from a Leffen or a ZD, Zero is one of the players that it might actually be over. Now, Gluttony is the European Wario, who's crazy good. He's the only Wario rep that we're going to see here unless Zachary pulls Wario out, because sadly we're not going to get Tweak at Summit. Rest in peace. I would expect Gluttony to do very well, though. I think that he has the ability to have a breakout performance here, but at the same time, it's sort of unfamiliar territory for him. I believe he's been to some tournaments in the US, but he hasn't played all of these players as much as a lot of them have played each other, and so I would expect it to be more of a learning experience for him at this event. And similarly to Samsora, if he has a breakout performance, I think he could carry that momentum forward into other events, but I wouldn't expect him to be a guaranteed pick to do well. Now, Light, he's the breakout star here. He was able to take it over ESAM at Nimbus and make it into Summit, and he's just an insanely talented player. His raw just speed and ability to apply pressure, something I haven't really seen out of anyone. It's reminiscent of only when Nairo's feeling himself, and really other than that, Light just stands on a whole nother level. I would expect him to do very well at this event. I think that although he's not always known as someone who consistently does well at tournaments, he's starting to get up to that level, And the more relaxed environment of Summit might really allow him to hit some of his peaks and take it over a lot of these top players. And he could be another dark horse, similarly to Samsora, who might win the entire event. Now, ZD is an interesting player because he's been known as someone who's very, very good, but not one of these top players, not one of these titans. So I think a lot of the intangibles are going against him. Still, he has the skill and the talent to make an upset, but he could also get upset by, let's say, one of the melee players if they catch him off guard. And so, I think he's just going to do fine. I think Summit could be a good learning experience for him, just with how many top players there are. But I don't think this guy specifically needs that. He's been learning and improving so much. And so I would just expect him to do fine. But I wouldn't expect him to win anything super huge. I wouldn't expect any massive upsets. But, you never know. It's Smash. Finally, we wrap things up with Zackray, the super talented player from Japan. Now, I would expect Zackray to do well. I don't think he would win Summit, but at the same time, I think everything here lends towards Zackray doing well. I think a lot of the intangibles are just on his side. The more relaxed environment that comes with Summit, and the fact that he gets to finally practice a ton with all of these American players, means that the fact that he comes from Japan and might not be used to this crazy tournament environment isn't going to be affecting him. And as well as that, he's not going to be thrown completely for a loop by a lot of the playstyles because he will have played a lot of friendlies with these guys. And so I think that Zackray really has a lot of potential to do well, but I see him as one of those consistent players, and I don't think that his peaks are the most insane compared to players like Light or like Void. And so I think that, Zackray will do great. I could see him, just getting top 4, placing similarly like I expect players like Dabuz, maybe Nairo to do, but I don't see him winning the whole thing. So yeah, there you have it. Just some of my predictions, how I think each player will do at Summit. If you enjoyed this little look, just going behind the scenes, talking about each player individually, because, it's a tournament like this, there's only 16 of them, I can actually do it, unlike the thousands of people attending events like Genesis. Just subscribe for that kind of content, and yeah. See you in the next one. Peace out.